Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Five Boys in a Business podcast, where we talk about our business, the podcast, and the many shenanigans involved. You can catch the podcast live most Mondays. We're late this Monday because we're doing a special edition podcast, but you can catch us most Mondays on Facebook Live around 10:30, or you can catch us on any of the podcast channels, Spotify, iTunes, and etc. Today, we have a special guest, Madeline, back with us today because she was in town, so we thought, why not have her back on the podcast today? So thanks for joining us.
Of course.
This is Harrison's fiance, if no one knows that.
Hey,
Caitlin.
Caitlin, how are you?
Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully everything's going well where you're at with COVID-19. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, right? Because that's what everybody's going to want to talk about today. Right, Richard?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right.
Or let's not.
Okay. Or this could be your break from COVID-19.
That's right.
So it actually could be listen to Five Boys in a Business and not talk about COVID-19.
Right.
Although people are probably, see, this is where I started just talking, Madeline. So
yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Keep going.
And Richie's like, she's on a roll.
And welcome to the Dr. King podcast.
Or people want to know what COVID-19 means to veterinary medicine.
Okay.
Do you have a few questions for me? Maybe I'm the podcast guest today. Before we continue, though, we should mention to check out ASV. You're sitting in my chair over there. You need to be acting like me. And
okay, first of all, I'm Richie King, and
I'm Dr. King.
Okay, there you go. So,
okay.
ASVCmerch.com. We have we can outfit you from head to toe, stocking hats, t-shirts, socks, onesies. So,
boom.
Whatever you need, we have it.
Excellent.
ASVCmerch.com.
Yes.
Shameless plug is over. Go ahead.
Okay, so being that I'm the veterinarian amongst the three of us,
right?
Do you guys have questions for me in regards to COVID-19?
Do I have questions about that? I think the whole COVID-19 thing has several facets: personal, professional, and also the medical side. I think people are concerned mostly about the financial impact, the impact of their daily lives, their movements, things like that. I think the medical concerns are equally important, as would be the medical concerns for their loved ones, and as many pets are considered family members. I'm sure those concerns are at the forefront of their minds as well. So
that was not a question for me.
What's that?
That was not a question.
No, I'm setting
for me.
the stage for further questions.
Okay. So what's the question then?
What is the question? Here's a big one. Can animals transmit COVID-19? Are they carriers of COVID-19? And if so, can they transmit it to humans?
Okay, so right now, our governing body, the AVMA, says that pets are not transmitting coronavirus. They do not know whether or not they're carriers, so they don't know that part yet. We do not believe that they are, but they are advising that if you are sick, that you let someone else take care of your pet, because the virus can live on surfaces. There are some people that have some thoughts in regards to, can the pet carry the virus then to the person? Not that from a carrier, not like that they're carry it internally, like what we talk about a carrier state, but like just as a fomite, meaning it lives on them. And
internally versus externally.
Yeah.
So internally, no.
And so I think that may be a little bit overboard in terms of the thought process, with the involvement of pets. But anyway, so those are the recommendations right now. We just did a Dr. King Says video where we talked about coronavirus as it pertains to veterinary medicine. So you can always check that out, where we listed some of what AVMA is recommending. And then, of course, our clinic, we're putting out information.
Sure.
And we'll answer questions from people. So, yeah. So I think the economic impact and the fallout in regards to people not taking it seriously, I think, is big. And I think that there was probably a big disservice in regards to the information disseminated in the beginning from the standpoint of the thought process with the curve and like what all that was going to mean per se. I think they missed the boat.
I think
people didn't get it because people didn't know it.
Well, I think for so many diseases that have kind of originated overseas or in different parts of the world, I think you, at least me personally, you become somewhat inured to it. You don't quite take it seriously because, it's another thing, but it's over there. It's not over here. And I think that's the distinction that I've drawn with this particular thing, is that all of a sudden you're like, ooh, they're taking this seriously. They're saying, yes, it's present. Oh, and by the way, you need to take these active steps to prevent its spread. So I think that's the big distinction, which may, play into what you're talking about. People didn't take it seriously, maybe because so many, whether it be SARS or swine flu or Ebola or whatever, it's kind of something that's not affecting you personally until it is. So
Right. I think veterinary medicine and ambulatory services within veterinary medicine will probably be considered essential services.
Right.
Which means that we'll be open whether or not they say we have to be, whether or not businesses need to close their doors.
Right.
So we'll probably be lumped into that category. So we're still going to be able to offer care. But one thing we did do today was put out an email to the client saying that, okay, we're going to have these other things available for you. So telemedicine, drive up, like you can drive up, we'll come out to the car to get your pet or look at your pet, or you can, which we always do drop-offs anyway now historically, but that's something just to make people aware of, that those are things that we can do. And so we're going to be ready to implement those things towards the end of the week, as far as telemedicine and whatnot. So I think that'll be helpful, because that way people can still get care without feeling like they're contributing to the spread of the virus. So I think for Indiana, with everything changing so rapidly and them now shutting down the restaurants, except for
shutting them down,
pickup and delivery stuff, right?
For now.
For now, that's how they've. So Madeline's from St. Louis. So what are they doing in St. Louis? Nothing.
Is it similar in Indiana?
Is Missouri like way behind?
No, they're not. They're not way behind. I don't think restaurants have closed yet.
Right.
But it's only a matter of time before they do.
Yeah.
I know St. Louis County and St. Charles County, which is where I am specifically, they've limited all gatherings to 50 people or less.
Yeah.
Schools are done. All schools, as far as I'm concerned. I know Maryville, where I'm at the university, they're done for, they had scheduled it originally to 2 weeks online, and now it's indefinitely. So everybody has to move off campus between tomorrow and Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then
how do they charge for that? I'm just curious. It's like, you can't live here.
They're
How are
going
they
to
charge you?
they've got to reimburse.
I
There's
have
somebody
no
that,
idea.
one of the senators or somebody in the House is putting together a bill to get partial prorated reimbursement for like your
They're gonna
room
have
and
to.
board. Because there's no way.
My hunch is that things are over at least until this school year's over.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. I don't think that anybody's going to go back to school for this school year. If they're talking, if it's anywhere near like what they're saying.
So how did it impact then your school and like college wise? Like what's happened to you?
so
You graduate early?
Yeah.
God, I should.
guys. Appreciate
Might
it.
as well. Well, so I'm in the art creative side. So we have senior shows, which is essentially your capstone or your thesis project. You get to present, and you have all the working professionals in the St. Louis area that will come, and they'll come to your show, and it's your family, and they celebrate your work and all of that good stuff. And so they have it for interactive design, graphic design, photography, interior design, and they've all been canceled. All senior shows are canceled. I think they're going to try and do ours digitally in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if it's a website that you upload your work. I don't know if it's some kind of stream. I have no idea. They haven't figured that out yet.
So if you're doing a capstone course, it's a single course then, right?
So yeah.
So basically you're done. Or basically.
So it's a 6-hour credit class, which is now, it's more or less an independent study.
Right.
So you're kind of working on your own anyway, but they have limited the number of students you can have in a studio class.
Okay.
So I have studio classes. I don't have a traditional 20-person classroom at a desk.
Right.
So you can't have more than, originally it was 5. I think they've pushed it slightly, but there's 12 to 15 people in a studio class at a time.
Wow.
So now they're having to reschedule, this person can come in at this time, this person come in at this time. Half your class is online, and we're using Zoom, which is the...
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about that. Harrison was talking about that earlier.
Yep, that's what we're using with school. So it's so out of everyone's control, which is so unfortunate, but you can't do anything about it. It just kind of sadly is what it is at this point.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many uncontrollables, right? You have no control over, that's one thing our kids are struggling with as well, like especially Holden with track season. Like you have zero control over the fact that you can't meet as a team. You can't go to, there's no meets. Everything's getting canceled. And so,
it's a great lesson, though.
It's an interesting. I mean, and it's in like everybody keeps using the word unprecedented. That's basic.
Yeah,
I mean, it
it's pretty
is. I mean, I don't even know if there's a
It is.
better word than that.
I've
but-
never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anything like this in the
and
United
so
States.
it's going to be fascinating to see. What do we just return to normal in the fall? Like, does everything just go back
pause
to
and
normal?
just pick back up? We were talking about
You
that
know?
with Sandy today.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say day-to-day life, yeah. I don't think economically. I think that'll be probably felt for a while. I don't think you can shut down this many industries and limit traffic like that without some kind of economic downturn.
The
I don't
only
see
thing,
how-
though, I can see is that when you're allowed to be open for business again, you can be open for business again. But the problem is when that time comes, people haven't been making money. So they,
it's a trickle-down effect.
yeah.
I mean, the disposable income goes. I was telling Harrison about this today. We're on the way back. We're driving back. When you have layoffs or you have lower business activity, that trickles down to disposable income, obviously, people. So across the spectrum. So we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
I don't think. So I think that it's when you say unprecedented, that's what I think is the most unprecedented, is the kind of nationwide and then on a national scale, that kind of locking things down and limiting movement, things like that. So
I know I'm in the middle of the job hunt. Obviously, I graduate in May, so
right.
up here, on my couple days I'm up here, I had quite a few visits scheduled to different firms and meetings
Right.
with different people. I had one canceled because their firm wasn't allowing visitors
Right.
in with the virus. I had a friend who is in San Diego, and she flew out for an interview. She's from San Diego. Flew out for an interview, which went really well. She had a phone interview prior to. Really liked her. They're like, can you come out? She said, sure. Over spring break, she flew out. She got there, and they said that they were reconsidering her position because the amount of work and where the firm is based on.
Like decreased. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think people, if it's only a 2 or 3 week thing, it's probably going to return to normal fairly quickly. If it's something like a months long thing,
Yeah.
I think that it'll be, I think that the repercussions will be more severe. So yeah, but I do think people are in somewhat they're hedging their bets. I'm sure they're like, we don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
so we don't want to bring anybody else on right now. So
It's
I totally get
understandable.
that.
Yeah. Yep. Serious times.
Yeah. I took a dark turn. Sorry, guys.
I mean, it's real, though. It's real.
Harrison, how are you nervous or stressed at all about what is going on?
Well, amidst the coronavirus, I also have a house that I have to keep up with now. I feel like money's
Congratulations.
I feel like money
Hats
is being,
off.
Yes.
being sucked out of my pocket.
Oh, just wait, my boy.
But
right.
I'm holding up. I have a loaf of bread at home. Yeah. So
Just think about all the time you'll have to ponder mowing the yard. Every
And a
single
roll of toilet
week.
paper. You got a roll of toilet paper.
Our standards are going to be dumbed down.
hold on. I have something to say.
What?
So, when I buy things like toilet paper or toothpaste or deodorant,
Oh,
I
you
buy
did
I buy them in bulk. Okay? The last time I got toilet paper was months ago. Okay?
Oh no.
I bought like at least 40 rolls of toilet paper months ago. Right now I have like 10. So we're solid. We're good for a few months.
Okay, so you're one of
But-
those.
But let me say, Madeline does
10's not that many.
Madeline does not
go ahead.
like when I buy in bulk. But amidst the coronavirus,
There you
buying in
go.
bulk is a good way
You
to
just
go.
reinforced your own behavior, haven't you? There you
Well,
go.
you come home with like 5 tubes of toothpaste, and like, who needs 5 tubes of toothpaste at one time?
people who are experiencing the coronavirus.
It has been fascinating though watching the run on products that we would otherwise just consider,
Oh, yeah.
you just don't need them.
Don't need 'em.
Day.
You know,
Yeah.
who would have thought there'd be a run on toilet paper?
Yeah.
I never would have thought that. And
Yeah.
I've been actually absolutely shocked at Walmart or Meijer, and it's all gone. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
You know what's
nothing.
interesting is like the other day we genuinely ran out of toilet
Yeah.
paper, and so because I order it once a week. It's on my Kroger click list. I just get
Right.
my 12 rolls. I get it once a week, and so I'm like, it's the end of the week, last Friday, and I was like, this sounds crazy, but I need toilet paper. I'm like, you're gonna have to go out
Wait a
and
minute,
find
wait.
some.
It's crazy you need toilet paper. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
crazy in
right now. Like, I'm gonna
today's- like,
send
right
you
now,
out
yeah.
to go get toilet paper. This is what I'm
Right.
telling you. I'm like, I'm gonna
It's
send
11
you
o'clock
out.
at night.
Yeah, I go. It was 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'm sorry. I think you're literally gonna have to go out and find toilet paper.
I took a picture
And
of
he
the
goes-
Walmart. I was like, there's no toilet paper to be had
Yeah,
here.
and-
Maybe other paper products. Toilet
but
paper, not
to-
so much.
And so I said, I was thinking when he was gone, and I was like, it's so interesting because if he were to come across toilet paper, all right, he now is going to buy 4 rolls and 4 cartons of it instead of just the one, because now he's thinking, crud, I'm not going to have any next week. I need to go ahead and get as many as I can. So all the people that you're yelling at who are buying all this toilet paper in bulk, you automatically become one when you go to get the
this is how bad it was. That same night, I went back out to Meijer because we had heard somewhere that there was toilet paper. I get there, there were like 4 rolls, almost a whole aisle, and this poor dude was stocking. He had like a pallet, and he goes, "I don't even know how I'm putting it on the shelves." And I put it there, they grab it. So he was just like, "I think I just leave it in the middle of the aisle."
That's right. So, oh gosh, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we got that. They hadn't limited that yet, but then where were we this weekend? At Walmart this weekend, they were limiting hand soap.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know, something.
Caitlin just commented saying, "I had a friend tell me if I run out of toilet paper to scoop my butt in the grass outside." No. LOL.
That might work, but probably
if
won't.
you're a dog, that'd work pretty well.
Right.
But yeah.
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 If you want to draw attention to yourself, go ahead.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. So yeah.
That panic shopping is real. It's sad too, because like you need your everyday stuff. It's not even like you're shopping for this apocalypse that's happening and like, oh my gosh, I need bulk. Like I genuinely just need 1 pack of toilet paper. That's it.
Yeah.
And people can't even get it because everyone's stocking up,
Well, go ahead, buddy.
Speaking of stocking up on things, there's actually a guy and his friend who in Tennessee.
Yeah, I saw that.
They mind you, in Tennessee,
Okay.
they went
What's wrong with that?
Let me just do this.
They went to They went to.
Wait,
did they buy all the hand sanitizer?
They went and bought 18,000 bottles of hand sanitizer.
And they can't unload it.
And they put it into their storage unit. The Attorney General found out through Twitter and had people go and find his storage unit, and now he's donating it to different parts of like
the state.
The state, yeah.
Good.
Well, there's a rule against that. You can't do that and then resell it.
Well, you can't. Well, the companies are the price gouging. I mean, the companies are saying you can't do that. You can't take $1 bottle and then sell it for 20. We won't allow it. Some would argue that's just the market working. Scarcity. But I mean, others would argue in these kinds of public health times. I mean that you could do that. There was
with hurricanes and stuff. They do that. Like back in the day when those hurricanes. A couple years ago, when the hurricanes were really bad, and they were like, you can't like for gas, hotel rooms. Remember that they were like.
Kevin Self commented saying, "Breaking news: the McCracken family gatherings are postponed until further notice."
We're immune to everything, Kevin.
Oh, wait, we have a great question.
Question.
We have a great question from Benjamin Blandon.
Oh, Ben, how you doing?
He asks, "Is All Star going to telehealth or curbside pickup?"
Both.
Hey Ben, I hope you're doing well. I don't know what you guys are doing, but yeah, we're going to be doing some telemedicine and also some curbside service. And then, of course, we're going to be doing drop-offs, which we always do anyway. So, yeah, great question. Those are things that we're taking advantage of to be able to offer to the clients.
I think, actually, I thought about this on the way up here. I thought telemedicine, you've had some people within the community, the industry, not be a big telemedicine advocate. And I think with the advent of these circumstances and these events,
it pushes them.
I think it'll really,
well, we got a letter from the IVMA today saying that they're encouraging the use of telehealth. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. It takes a crisis to get you to get off your butts and make some decisions.
Well, sometimes that happens though. You'll have events
I know, but they're
drive.
So slow to change. And so like, you need something like this really to be like, oh yeah, you guys should really consider telehealth. Yeah, no, we should be doing that anyway, whether this is here or not. And
the interesting thing to me about telehealth is the connectivity it's already there. So I mean, the communication, the interface it already exists. So why not take advantage of it? And really, the big the knock on it has been, from a relationship standpoint. I mean, the big push as far as I understand is say having someone in Indiana treat a patient in Alaska, or so you don't have that, which is somewhat protectionist, I think. I mean, if
they're not letting you do that now.
No, I know that, but I'm saying though, if you could do, I guess I don't quite understand. You can get other forms of advice, I guess is the point, in all the time. But for whatever reason, they draw that distinction there, that boundary that you can only do it within the confines of the state, which I think will change eventually.
Eventually, that'll change. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, very good question, Ben.
So back to Kevin's health. Yep. McCracken get-togethers. Boom. Gone.
Canceled. We
Canceled.
can hear your celebratory dance all the way over here.
That's right. No.
Harrison and I were talking, and we're obviously not getting married until 2021. But he knows people, and you hear about all these weddings that are being canceled.
Well, this happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
our practice manager, she had some friends that had planned a wedding for like a year.
400 people.
For 400 people, and they just had to eat it. Because
I would just have the wedding.
Well, they had it, but I mean, they had to limit it to
fined?
like 100 people.
Oh my god!
So I'm sure they ate all the money for the 300 that didn't show or couldn't show. So
And that's the thing, is that the industries are then saying, like, we're not giving refunds, or we're not.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which
but
is
they're
probably
probably
their typical
policy. Yeah.
anyway.
they're
but
probably
I mean,
looking at a doomsday scenario though, and saying if we have mass cancellations
Oh my
across
gosh,
the
yeah.
board,
Yeah,
then, I mean,
absolutely.
they're talking about some of the airlines going bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's fascinating to me about this is this wasn't even on the radar
A week
3
ago.
weeks ago. Yeah,
I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
Well,
I mean,
not like
people weren't,
this.
not like with the severity of the ramifications.
I mean, it all started with the market drop those few days.
Right.
The Dow was, down. Dow closed down 3,000 points today. I mean, it's been what, 2/3 of what it was 2 weeks ago. That's unheard of. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
It's a buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market, all right.
When it hits the
You
low
got cash
point.
to buy.
When it hits the low point.
Yeah, whenever you think that's the
Jump
danger of
in.
finding the bottom is that sometimes
Put
the bottom.
your toe in.
Yeah, it's not there to so. But yeah, if you've got cash, I mean, the best deals are out there in times like this.
Sandy was talking about that with the market, with the housing market, and like it's just gonna kind of be on pause probably, and
Right.
then once it's done with, it's good. The market's good. I mean, it's not.
Well, see, and that's the thing I was telling her. I was like, a month ago, everything was fine.
Yeah.
So the underlying, factors of the economy are still there.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's just all of a sudden going, okay, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
It's almost like civil unrest. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
so let's tighten our belts and not spend anything on anything. But then when things loosen
Right.
up, I mean, I think
Yeah.
you'll see.
Well, and it was just like a boom, screeching halt.
Right. But
You
I
know
do
what I
think
mean? So-
you'll see a hangover effect for the economy for sure. I mean, for a while. I mean, depending on how long it lasts. But I think the unknown is what's giving people pause. I mean, you don't know
Yeah.
what's coming out of the pike. Is the market going to be down another whatever? Are they
Yeah.
going to come out with some other pronouncement? Are they going to further lock down things? So yeah,
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
yeah.
Viruses are very interesting. I always thought it would be very cool to study
Yeah.
like how all that gets started and how that works, and
Yeah.
the mechanisms behind that, and finding patient zero. And
I wonder if
yeah.
people that really know what's going on, if they're freaking out. I mean, if they know too much almost. I mean, they know.
no, because they probably know all the information. I
Right.
mean, maybe because I think so much fear comes from the unknown,
Right.
like not knowing what, and so I think that's the scary part. So if you're the master of the info, you probably.
But things keep shifting. Like they were saying during that press conference today, they were talking about social gatherings. It was 50 yesterday, whenever that guideline came out a day or two ago. Now
That's
it's
because
10.
people aren't taking it seriously.
I have a question because
Yeah.
Kevin also just commented saying, just said to plan on effects through August. Do you really think that this is going to go through July to August? Like it won't
The effects of this
The immediacy,
situation.
probably not. I would say the immediacy, if they do what they're supposed to do within 30 days, it'll probably that wave will have crested and wash over, just like it appears to have in South Korea, China, those places.
So Kevin, let's ask you this question: are they going to have school at all the rest of spring semester? The public schools and the private schools.
I would vote
And,
no.
and if it goes into July/August, does that mean that school starts later?
No, they'll waive that. You'll be so far behind. I mean, you basically missed, half of March, all of April, and all of May. So you're talking.
So as an entire nation,
75
we're
days.
all actually in school. Our grade level is actually a half a year less.
Right.
We were talking about that with.
But if you're from
Katie.
England, you're okay. No.
Right.
We're talking to Katie and Casey about that. Katie's in Avon School
Oh, right.
District, and Harrison, do you remember how many days she said were waived?
20.
20.
20 days were
Yeah.
waived.
So that's 4 weeks. So 4 or 5 day weeks.
But if you don't go back for the entire semester,
They'd have to waive it all.
They have to do something,
Do you,
right? I
like,
don't
are
know.
the kids-
Kevin, comment on that. Help us figure
Yes,
that
Kevin.
part out.
Come on, Kevin.
He said, was just going to say something about it. We are planning through spring break.
Through spring break to be out of school.
when spring break?
So
It was somewhat convenient. It sounds terrible. It was somewhat convenient that it happened right now because you do have spring break within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
he said we get 20 days, which is almost what I've heard from a lot of schools. A lot of colleges like IU are canceling from spring break all the way till the end of the year. But most schools like Avon, like Kevin's school, I'm assuming, are 20 days right now.
Well, that's the government saying you have to be in school 180 days.
So that's
what
the
they're
state
doing
coming
is
in
saying we're going to give you
waive
20
that.
days.
You won't face a sanction if.
And he also said, and they said 8 weeks, which puts us, and they said 8 weeks, which puts us to the end of April.
So then they're out till the end of April, maybe. Wow.
When's the last day scheduled? Like
It's usually
officially
like
as of now?
Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
If
So they would
snow,
have
it's
they
a
would have
few days after
30
that.
days to get back into school.
Yeah, good luck with that. After the kids have been out 6 weeks, good luck.
Yeah,
You have 2
there's no
summer
way.
comebacks in 1 year.
Oh goodness, that's
I
hard.
would be, I would be living my life right now if I was in high
They're
school.
I feel bad for the teachers. They've got all
The
that
teachers.
e-learning stuff, and then there's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, what
That's
do you
hard.
do though? I mean, you just have to truncate it and say we're just not going to get to it all,
Yeah.
and hopefully that last 30 days, whatever you missed, won't cripple you going into the next year. But what do you do? I mean, for sure, at college. I mean, there were I could have taken months off some of my college classes. It wouldn't have made any difference.
Well, the amount of classes, you want to cut down on college course tuition and
Right.
all of that. Don't make you take irrelevant classes that don't matter.
I know,
I took a
right?
yoga class for credit.
Yeah, I'm in
Why?
business school
You
taking
know, I
one
wonder if
semester
they
of
wouldn't
French.
just cut down to
Yeah.
like your degree important, like the
That's
class
more like
is
trade
important
school
for
then.
your degree. So it's
Yeah,
more like
that's
okay,
how it should be.
like okay, to catch everybody up, we're allowing you to graduate with less of these general study degrees. Just go ahead and just concentrate on your core focus.
See,
Right.
this has been my big complaint about undergrad and the way that it's structured today is that traditionally colleges years ago you didn't really major in anything. You would go just liberal arts. Everybody took the Latin, you took foreign language, all that stuff, history, all that stuff. It was supposed to liberate your mind. Hence the liberal arts thing. Whereas now they've got it's so at my degree even 5 years ago. Yeah. I mean, it was very specific. So it was all finance. It was all business after the second, like starting fourth or so semester. So, I mean, you didn't get all those things. So I look back and I think I could have just taken those classes. I could have taken 40 hours, 50 hours in that particular concentration and it had the same effect.
Right.
I heard a guy talk about this a few years ago, and he said that they've started to blend specialization. Trade school is too much of a generalization, but it's more like a skill set. You're like focusing in on a specific skill set instead of saying we're going to expose you to these 50 different things. And they kind of don't really know what they want. They're saying we still have to take 126 hours, but you're going to be so laser focused on this particular major when you could probably just cut it by a quarter in terms of the credit hours required and have the same effect.
Right.
But they're still clinging to that old model of you have to take these well-rounded things. In fact, in the business school, when I was there, I didn't fall into this, but they changed the catalog, I think a year or year and a half before I left, where you had to start taking 4 semesters of foreign language, a bunch of different things to try and round things out to the extent that made you a more rounded person or better business major. I don't know.
Sure.
So yes, they could cut it way down, I'm sure.
Kevin said, our last day is May 21st. That's times for finals and e-learning. I was at school today doing e-learning day building for all the teachers. It's been nuts. The good thing is that the kids are actually going on to do work. We will see how many kids do the work that's prepared.
Yep. I would think, yeah. It'll be interesting to see whether they can.
If I had to put money on whether Calvin does his work, I would not take that bet.
Well, we were talking to Katie, and she has been doing e-learning stuff, and only like, what'd she say, like 3 or 4 kids out of like her 20-kid class are actually doing the work. Like, so, like.
I'm sorry, you're not going to get those kids to do
Well,
the
it's all
work.
on the
Well, I think
parents
it's-
at this point.
Yeah,
and then
exactly. I
it's
think
just-
6th grade and under, I think
mean-
that's where and Kevin may have a different opinion as an educator, but like I'm strictly speaking as a parent, 6th grade and under, I'm like, it is torture spending 3 hours in front of a computer with a kid, especially a boy, who's bouncing off the walls trying to pay attention.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to work on top of it. 2 people trying to work. Like, I don't know what the heck.
You gonna pay me? Are you gonna
Oh my
send me a
God.
check?
Yeah.
That thing cracks me up. Yeah.
So it's so I'm like, oh man, can't we do?
Scale
And it's
back.
because there's standards that got to be met, I'm sure, and there's all these other things like, for me to simplify it and be like, okay, let's have Calvin do an hour's worth of work. Let's focus on math, reading, and maybe something that he enjoys like science, or if he enjoyed social studies, or, you know, and then some form of physical activity. And as long as you show that you're, you know, maybe you know, he does something that's physical activity every day, you know, for PE, or he learns about a PE subject, a sport, or I don't know, whatever the hell.
Right.
You know, but I mean, make it more almost like independent learning that's meaning the things rather than, you know, I feel so bad for them too, the teachers, because they're trying to come up with all of these different opportunities, and
They have to totally rewrite their curriculum.
Yeah, it's so
fit
much.
And you don't have
Online.
the rigor or the structure that you have in the classroom.
Oh God, no.
I mean, so you're trying to duplicate that at home.
Well, and
which
you're
is
just trying to
almost
trying to
impossible.
move from non-homeschooling to immediate homeschooling,
Right.
with no adjustment phase, and then
And trust me, that's a tough one.
it's a tough one. And then typically when you're homeschooling, if you're really homeschooling with a homeschool program, you're not spending nearly the amount of hours.
no.
And so,
Yeah, I mean, we used to be done by 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Every day. So, I mean, so you had the curriculum, and it was 4 or 5 subjects, whatever it was. But you would, when they mastered it, they did the work, they were done. You move on to the next thing. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like math was an hour. Math was however long it took them to do the
which
work.
is fine, but we weren't doing like busy work. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like if he mastered that, I wouldn't have him keep doing worksheets on it.
Right.
Like, you know, it's
The way
like
they do.
psh, it's done with that's done. We don't need
Yeah.
to do these other 5 worksheets on addition, math, facts, you know, kind of a thing. And so but they don't know which students know. I mean, they
Right.
do know
No.
which students know what, but they
Right.
don't, you know.
It's hard.
Kevin said the guidelines I gave to teachers is 15 to 20 minutes of work per class at HS level. Since we are blocked, that would be an hour of work per day.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
For high school students, that's not bad.
No, heck no.
He said HS, so I'm assuming high school.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Calvin has at least that much as a second grader.
Yeah.
That's just. I mean, I look at like comparatively college online courses.
Right.
I hate them. I took like 2, and it just wasn't my thing. I like that face-to-face interaction.
Right.
So then you're talking on a totally different level of compatibility with working online and what you can retain
Right.
reading versus
Yeah.
you know somebody sitting down and explaining something to you. That's going to totally
Well, and I think
hinder
high
how
school
people
kids, like, you know, the junior high school, college kids, I
Mm-hmm.
think they can be like, all right, I don't like it, but I'll do it. I'll get it done. I know
Right.
I got to get it done. Okay, I
Sure.
don't like it, but I'm going to do it. Like, it's just a
Second grade, not so much.
second
Yeah.
grade. Not
Good
so-
luck with that.
There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of crying. I have a feeling.
Son,
in my-
I see the email now. I don't know what to tell you. I did the best I could.
Oh, goodness. It'll all work out in the end, and it'll be just fine
Right.
in the
So
end. That's the main
we'll
point.
survive, I'm sure.
So,
We're on the streets and
One way or the other.
tattered clothing.
cats and dogs. That's what my
machetes
phrase
in
has been.
hand.
Like.
Tigers running across the street.
Oh, gosh. Too funny.
Interesting times, that's for sure.
So,
That's for sure.
do you have a stock to buy
Oh boy. Ooh.
in today's times?
Everything's down. Everything is way down. I mean, even the stocks that I own that are good value, I know for sure are way down. The herd mentality's taking over with the market. Everybody's just getting out.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just pulling their money. I've never seen numbers like that. Even in 08, I never saw the percentages like that.
Really.
I mean, we talked about this. There were at least 3 circuit breakers today before we even got home. When circuit breakers are when the market goes down a certain percentage, they stop trading to give people a breather. There's been 1 in the past 22 years. Even in 08, it didn't happen. So that's why I say,
Well, that's because it's happening at such a fast rate, right? I mean,
I know.
in
but
08
good
was
Lord.
just like you could see it coming. It's slow. It's like the slow moving train. And, you know, you're like,
No,
all
you said
right,
you had
we're
a similar level of
prepared,"
panic
you know.
though in terms of dollar volatility. I remember watching the market. You know, it was down 800-900 points one day, and everybody's just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Going back to education for 1 sec, Kevin said companies like Zoom are providing educational use for free right now. I am considering doing office hours for kids to meet up and have questions, or just another face to see. And then he asked about the Apple stock.
Oof, Apple stock. I don't know. I think if the fundamentals were good 2 or 3 weeks ago, they're probably going to still be good. Something like Apple. I just think since everything is so consumer driven in the economy, to the extent the consumer is damaged by these events, it will affect their ability in terms of their ability to purchase because of decreased disposable income. I just don't think anybody knows.
He said it is down 3,000 for the day.
Yeah, 3,000 points for the day.
Yep.
So it closed at what, 20,000? Something insane. I mean, something just you can't even. So yeah, I mean, in terms of I don't know. Yeah, 2,997 points. Closed at 20,188. It was at 29,000. Yeah, 29,667 a week ago. 2 weeks ago. I mean, something nuts. I don't know, man. Mortgage rates are low. There's that. It takes forever. They kept talking about that on CNBC on the way home, and they was like, well, that's going to really help. I was like, do you know how long it takes to get a mortgage? Do you know how long it takes to refi your house? If you're in a cash crunch, you're talking 45 days before you can get any money. So personally, what I think is going to happen is the government will probably step in. They'll probably rewrite some rules of business interruption, something. You can't tell these businesses to close and say, sorry, I don't know what to tell you, especially places like restaurants where, I mean, they're just not going to have the same traffic.
Yeah, but I also don't know how they're going to screen people to give lending or to give, when you have people that have been that aren't doing well before this ever happened, and then they're going to take additional loans or they're going to do additional.
Well, if the business interruption insurance, and we have that coverage here, and as I'm sure a lot of places do, what that guards against is, say, a natural disaster, a meteor hits or whatever, you're closed for business, or a fire, something happens that interrupts your ongoing operations of your business, then they'll compensate.
Refrigerator gets too warm and kills all of our vaccines. Don't ask me how I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean that doesn't. But that could be. I mean that could be a claim.
Yeah, that's a bad thing.
Yeah. But what they've done is technically these circumstances and events are specifically excluded or they're not covered. This is the way that I understand it. I've talked to my agent, but there have been rumblings that the government could come in and then backstop it and say, you need to cover if we come in and say you have to shut down,
you need to cover that as
this.
an interruption.
You need to cover this.
And
then backstop it that way.
Then they're basically transferring the load from the business owner to the insurance company.
Which
the insurance companies are going to...
No, but which will be backstopped by the federal government.
Oh, okay.
So they would go back and say, we've had all these business interruption exception claims that wouldn't have otherwise been covered. Can you reimburse us?
Right.
So, I mean, that could be a backdoor way to go in and say, yes, we're going to have these, we're going to
I think that that's something that they should have already had planned, because you could have gotten people to buy into the social distancing and not having your employees at work, and the employees themselves, that are hourly employees, it's going, I can't not go to work. I have to go to work,
Right.
That they would have been much more quick to follow guidelines if they knew that they had that backstop to begin with. So it's like almost a last resort now that things are where they're at. And this is what we got to do, because now we're in the place that we're in where, maybe if they would have done it initially, you could have been shut down for 2 weeks and the cost to the nation would have been a lot less if you had been shut down for 2 weeks, knowing that there would be business interruption.
Yeah, and I think, even I try and think of parallels. I mean, whether it be 9/11 or, Pearl Harbor, those kinds of things where they came and people, but it was somewhat isolated still. I mean, it was kind of an event that happened here, but it wasn't. Now, World War II obviously is a different thing because it affected everybody. It was a slow buildup. It wasn't like bam, whereas this has been just like shut down nationwide. Yeah. I mean, I think San Francisco, Harrison, you can look this up. I thought that I read before I came over here that they were shutting down. I mean, they're literally shutting everything down. Like, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, no, everything's
unless you go to the grocery or work, you're not supposed to be out.
Everything's shut down. I mean, I know of a lot of gaming companies that I follow, like journalists. They're working from home and everything.
And to your point, I mean, what do you do? It's like, if you can't go to work, what do you? And that's why I think the government will probably have to step in and do something to allay people's fears, because otherwise, you really talk about people not spending a penny.
Well, and I think that for every guideline or rule they put in place, there's now another thing they have to consider that creates another problem, and then that creates another problem.
Right.
Like, there's so many little things that get happening. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to limit the gatherings to 50 or more, or well, now that you've done that, now you've got this problem. Now you've got this problem, and you got this problem.
All the industries that are effective. I mean, catering, I'm sure, is dead right now. I mean, no one's going to do anything. Everything's being canceled, I'm sure.
Zach said it sounds like you're saying this administration is inept and did a terrible job with this crisis.
Nope, not saying that.
No,
but
not saying that, Zach.
And then Kevin Self said dugout is takeout only.
Dugout is takeout only, yeah. So that's our cousin Nick owns the Dugout downtown Indianapolis. So I think that
Is that mandated? I mean, they've already. That's the rule. Has the governor said that they have to do that, or is that just a
As of today?
suggestion?
An
As
option.
of today.
I don't know. I mean, no, yeah, that's what he's telling you have to do.
Right.
Is that you can do takeout or delivery. So, and Nick owns that restaurant, so I'm sure, yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just very interesting.
Time to be alive.
So, what are your parents doing then, as far as their jobs?
My dad's still going, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
He's in sales, so he's in and out of stores, actually. So I wonder if that'll...
He's doing real well right now.
Yeah. So he's still going. My mom is a speech therapist in Ferguson Florissant School District, so they are off for the next 3 weeks. Her spring break's in there.
In there
So
somewhere.
I think they gave her 2, and then
Yeah.
spring break is at some point in time. But she's teaching K through 2, and she's a speech therapist. She's not in the classroom every day.
Right.
So I think with her, she does home visits and, classroom visits. Well, you go and take the kid out of school class for an hour or
Right.
whatever it is. So I think as long as she's giving some kind of suggestion to parents while they're at home,
Right.
then that's kind of the extent of her. And I
Right.
say that loosely because I don't know for sure, and I'm sure she's doing a lot more behind the scenes.
Right.
But as far as requirements from her school and where she's at and age-wise,
Right.
Right.
that's where she's at. My sister was living on campus at Maryville, so she's moving out tomorrow, probably.
She was supposed to go to Ireland.
She's supposed to go to Ireland. She's supposed to study abroad
The
in
summer.
Ireland. Mm-hmm.
So, did she pay to study abroad in Ireland?
So she only put her deposit down, which we are fortunate. There was one group, I want to say Spain, but I don't know 100%, who was supposed to leave last Thursday, and they told them the Monday before that their trip was canceled. And so I don't know how the school's going about reimbursements, or I know my sister, she only put down her deposit, so she gets her deposit back. Thank God she didn't buy a ticket yet. She didn't buy her plane ticket yet. But she needed the 3 classes that she was taking over there to graduate early. Oh, no. She has to have them. So I don't know how they're going to go about that. In my opinion, I think that they offer the same classes at the same rate, and they
Right.
put them online, and there you
Right.
go. Now
There you go.
can still
Yep.
graduate early, but I don't know. I feel like there's so many moving parts that
Right.
you got to figure out that I have no idea when the solution is, but she's not going to that anymore. So she was very
It's only
disappointed.
3 classes on. She has 3 years left.
She has one. She's graduating in May next year.
Oh wow.
So she's in a 4-year undergrad, and then she's going to get her master's.
Okay.
So her undergrad, she's graduating a year early, but to do so, she had to take 3 classes in Ireland and then an additional, I think, 2 at the community college. So I don't know if that means she's now taking the other 3 at the community college, or if Maryville's going to do some kind of offering situation. I have no
Right.
idea, but I don't know. It's not, I mean, everyone's affected. I don't think there's one person that the whole situation
right.
doesn't touch in some way, shape, or form.
What's happening in Florida, do you think? Do you think that people are, hunkered down there? Like where we were in Bonita Springs?
Oh, well,
Yes.
They're like not leaving.
yeah.
Yes.
our-
X on the door.
Yes.
Up here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, our parents are anyway. They're definitely,
If they weren't hunkered down now, they definitely are now.
yep.
No.
Yep, they are, for sure. So,
You can actually, I think I saw a ticket that I think you can go to places like China for like
Oh, boy.
for a round trip for like a couple $100 right
Do they
now.
pay you to go?
I don't even think you can get in the country, though. I don't know if I think that there's,
I think I saw another trip where you can go to like San Francisco right now for like $50 round trip or something like the ticket prices are just
Why on
way
earth would you
down.
get in a metal tube for hours? I mean, if this is
Didn't-
that contagious.
Didn't Sandy say that one of her clients, he works in
Oh, it was
in
in
China, Japan, somewhere over there?
he said that
Remember?
the story was that she had a client recently who came to one of her open houses, and he's from China, or he works in China. He works for Eli or Raw or whatever, something like that. And he came back to the United States for a little bit, and he was wanting to buy a house with his family here. And then, a week or so went by, and he told Sandy that he's actually going back to China because it's safer. He told her that it's safer in China than it is here.
He's leaving in like 2 days to go back to China.
Why is it safe? Is it because the virus has kind of run its course?
I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure in
stopped
China,
spreading.
it's just kind of hit. It's kind of just stagnant right now. Like it's not. And
Still would rather be in the United States
right?
than China.
I want to get welded in my hotel room, and that actually happened.
Yeah.
and my friend JB, a good friend of mine, he is in Italy right now.
Oh, gosh.
boy.
He is quarantined to his neighborhood where he's living right now with his girlfriend. He said that if you go out, you could get fined, and that the only places open are supermarkets and pharmacies. He said there were 200 deaths in his neighborhood yesterday, and that they're closing down cemeteries because there are just too many deaths happening.
Oh, that's like Black Death stuff.
Jeez. That's some sobering information.
I know.
All right, on that note.
That's scary. Moving on.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so what else do you have for us today, Richard?
Wow.
Coronavirus, and
You want to talk about the weekend?
The coronavirus, and the coronavirus weekend?
No, not that.
Mom doesn't like talking about this. Here we go.
No, yeah, I don't mind.
Well, we're not. We didn't do anything bad. Oh my God! Never mind.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. But
What
Go ahead,
else?
talk about
What
it.
else do we have going on?
Today, right now.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know. Calvin lost the remote, but then found it.
Okay, well, that's good.
Did
of
he
him.
actually lose it?
Yeah, he did lose it. He took it upstairs. I'm like, this stays down in the basement. The basement. We've been having this talk for at least 10 years. I remember talking to Harrison when we first moved into that house going, I'm going to tie a belt to this freaking remote so you won't lose it.
I actually attached it to a stick one time,
We did that, remember?
and they took it off the stick.
Yeah.
Aw.
So
I was like, this
Sounded
is
so
brilliant.
promising.
I know. Yep. Nope. They took it off.
How's Trevor doing?
Trevor's doing well.
Yeah.
Yep. He's
getting ready
doing
to
fine.
graduate.
And
Is his graduation still on?
wow.
Haven't
probably
heard.
not. I don't know. They have not. When they sent the email out to Garin families, it was with the language like you'll be out until at least. They really want them to be able to graduate and go through that ceremony.
They'll have
and
a
stuff
ceremony
like that.
at some point, I'm sure.
You know, and so the thought is that they will get that done. So
Yeah.
right now everything is as is. You know, same thing with Calvin's first communion and you know all of that. They're planning to continue to. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I suppose the next couple of weeks are
Yeah.
when they'll decide that.
I'm
No.
sure they'll have something. They'll probably postpone prom or something. Something will happen.
Johnny's like in the perfect grade for all of this to happen because he's 8th grade, which means
Yeah.
your grades, you know,
Doesn't matter.
You're going to high school next
Can
year.
you
You need to do
imagine?
well. You can't fail. You know that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
The sense of elation and just
Yeah.
celebration. If you go, we're out. What? Okay.
Yeah.
In the
to
8th
be
grade?
An 8th grader during this time.
yeah.
Does it affect you?
Not really.
Not
You
as
already
far
got
as
in high
you're
school,
concerned.
No one cares.
Right.
Not as far as you're concerned. Yeah, exactly.
Although Johnny, speaking of school, has been bringing home some amazing sculptures.
Oh yeah, his ceramic work is
Yeah,
awesome.
Really?
Really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
He
has
brought
he
it home. I was
made?
like, whoa. I mean, it's really cool.
He made this really cool bird. He made this really cool, basically SpongeBob, like it looks like SpongeBob. That made it in
Was it a bird, the thing with the horns?
no.
Remember the thing that came up
Yeah,
with the
no,
horns?
that was really good.
Yeah.
No, that was like some figure, like some
Right.
just animated figure he made. But then he made a SpongeBob like box that the lid comes off. You know
No
what
way.
I mean?
And we said, what'd you get? And he goes, like a bee. I was like, what?
Yeah,
What'd you get
no,
marked
he
down
got like
for?
100% on one or something.
Right.
And then, but no, yeah, it was really, really clever.
Does he throw it? Is he like spinning it like on a wheel, like on a
I have
pottery wheel?
no
Do you
idea.
know?
I don't think so.
I'll talk to him.
'Cause
Yeah.
it doesn't look like something that's symmetrical like that.
Yeah.
It looks like just something he molded.
Yeah,
Fun.
put together, you know, like scoring
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
cutting
yeah.
and yeah, stuff like that.
That's
so,
awesome.
We
That's
never had
super
that
fun.
stuff.
So I think he's doing that in high school. His freshman is going to be art class. So
He's doing 3D art.
I think so.
He didn't want to do 2D art. He didn't like the drawing, I don't think.
Yeah. Harrison loved drawing.
Did he?
No, I didn't.
He loved playing the drums too. What did you play?
No, he didn't. That's why I said that. He hated it.
What was it? What instrument did you play? I can't remember.
I mean, yeah, I like
In the pep
drums.
band.
I like the drums.
Is that what you played? That they were trying to get you to do it, and you just were like, I don't want to do it. It sounded just like that, too.
In hix school?
Yes, your freshman year.
Oh, they had me play the dang bass drum, and it was the most boring thing ever.
Like with one button.
Yeah.
It was the big drum that you put on
That
your
you
stomach.
wore?
And
Yeah.
you
Ding,
did this.
ding, ding. Yeah, that's-
That was
Said-
tough.
needless-
That was so tough.
Needless to say, but I
You
quit
bring it home in
band.
practice. He goes, I just can't get it, Dad. I just can't get it.
That's
Not
funny.
really. So yeah.
That was not my scene.
Are
Well-
either of you musically talented?
No.
I took guitar for.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Self-proclaimed musically
Yes.
talented.
Yes.
No. Okay. The story is, I took guitar. I mean, I could play a little bit, but I didn't really like it. I didn't have the patience. It's
Yeah.
such an intricate thing to play. But then I started playing the drums. I really liked that. I love playing the drums.
Yeah.
So I wish that as a young person I had chosen that over. I mean, I couldn't have. It was too loud. My dad would never have allowed it. So, but yeah, I like playing the drums a lot more than I ever like playing the guitar. So.
So before we close this evening, I thought we should each say, instead of we say, usually at the end of every podcast when we have a guest on, we always ask, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Right.
But this time with everything going on, I think instead what we should do is, which we're not supposed to do, but say, what is your silver lining with everything going on right now? Brene Brown would say we shouldn't do this, but let's silver lining it. So, do you want to know?
I could be sick with the coronavirus.
Okay, there you go.
I'm
That's
not.
your okay. There's
So
your silver
that's a
lining.
plus.
All right, there you go. Mine is that my children no longer have separate spring breaks. Yes,
Hey,
they're all
there
on
you
one
go.
spring break. That's my
my mom
silver
would
lining.
echo that. She's never had the same spring break as any of us
Yep.
ever.
So I'm pretty pumped about that.
That's funny.
Richie,
That's
what
good.
about you?
What is the big silver lining with all this stuff? What are you laughing at?
Do you need time to think? It's like we're at a restaurant and you're not ready to order. Should we pass you and go to Harrison?
No. I mean, yeah, go to Harry.
Okay, Harrison.
My silver lining is that I love video games so much, so I have no problem staying in my room for multiple months in a row.
Please,
Harrison,
somebody-
it gives him a reason
He
to
is hoping.
do what he
Yeah,
always
he's
does.
hoping to
The
be
government is
self-quarantined
literally telling me to stay in my room.
okay.
And this is what I've wanted forever.
Forever. You now have your dream come true.
Boy, I think there's so many things to be, that warrant gratitude. I think it's everything. It's things could be a lot worse. That's the silver lining.
And I'm going to just pipe in that buy stock. It's a great time to buy stock.
I don't know.
At some point, it's going to be
only
a
with
great
money.
time.
Only with money you can afford to lose. Let's put it that way.
Oh, gosh.
Truly, I think it gives everybody just a time to slow down that they otherwise would never get.
Right.
And whether it's for a good reason or a bad reason, you truly have to step back at this point and calm. It's out of your control. Calm down, sit down.
Right.
Last thing, that was a great thing to do before the end of the podcast, but I want to do one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Because we're going to look back on this podcast in a few months and be like, holy crap, I can't believe this happened. So,
Predictions?
yeah, so
Oh, no.
let's see here.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to know if everybody thinks that we are being that we are being reactive or proactive.
What do you mean? In what regard?
Are we overreacting or not?
Boy.
And it's a
Okay,
simple-
let's do
yeah,
though.
it's a
Let's
simple-
pretend like we're on the
it's a-
NFL channel and you have to
it's-
pick points and spreads and stuff. So, yeah, come on, let's do it. Like, Dad, go ahead. What is your prediction?
For what?
Okay, school open or closed until,
Closed.
okay, and then are we being overreactive or proactive?
I think overreactive or reactive? You mean proactive, reactive, or what do you mean?
Are we overreacting by doing all of the stuff? So that's kind of proactive, I suppose.
Okay,
or
I go back.
are we like,
Okay, are
Okay, I go
we
back to-
overreacting or not? Yes or no?
Okay,
So-
I go-
yes or no? Are we overreacting?
I think if people are overreacting, they are only doing it at the direction of the people in authority, governments, things like that. To the extent the governments have information that they're giving this information, it's moving so quickly, they must have some basis upon which to make those concerns known.
Okay.
So, I mean, to the extent, are people overreacting, or they're just reacting to the information that's being given to them?
Okay.
So,
Harrison?
School closed till the end of the year, yes or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they could really take it back at this point.
Yeah. No.
Oh, never mind. Now you're
School's-
going back.
Yeah, school's definitely closed. In terms of overreaction, I don't think we are overreacting. I would rather have us overreact than not do enough. So.
Yeah, I saw somebody I follow just on Instagram had posted something. One of the superintendents of a school somewhere had said about how at this point we don't know if we're overreacting or not, but
right.
in a few months it'll be extremely apparent whether we took the right actions and whether we were underreacting and not doing enough. So I don't think initially I was like, this is ridiculous. Like,
Right.
what's going on? But you see what's happening in China and in Italy and how fast it got to that point that at this point where we are now, I don't think it's an overreaction. I think it's truly precaution that we're taking.
I'll make a further prediction. I think, Harrison, you're going to look like this, but you're totally wrong on this, Dad. I think that if this goes longer than 2 weeks, I think the second quarter's done. I think third quarter, then you take a huge hit, recession, going into the fall, White House flips parties, the Senate probably flips too.
Ooh, you're going with that prediction.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that. I think that. I just think that. I think that things will drive events, and I think that for sure, if it's as bad as they're making it out to be, I don't think they'd be taking these kinds of measures unless the models were telling them to react this way.
Oh, I agree. I think
agree.
that we are not overreacting. The models are suggesting the numbers are what they are.
And they must have data that's suggesting
well, yeah,
things that
if
we're not aware of.
Yeah. I mean, they've got people that are figuring this stuff out. I
Right.
mean, it's not
Zach
like
said-
they're guessing.
Zach said we're definitely not overreacting. Numbers show we're on pace with Italy.
Oof.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Typically the people that are generating the information, I mean, they know how infectious disease works. So I think
But
everybody.
I look at that stuff. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think everybody, regardless of what country you're in, wishes probably they did more sooner. And if China would have shared information sooner, it would have been a lot easier to be more,
Right.
on par with things.
I think most people, I mean, people talk about overreactions, reactions. I think the people in power in most of these countries, regardless of where they are, they have a vested interest in doing things that don't create a liability for themselves. And I think that's where, looking at things in hindsight is very easy to say, oh, well, we should have done this. Well, yeah, but you're working with the information you had at
You
the
already
moment.
have, right. Yeah.
I mean, so you could look and you go,
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, and to Emily's point about some of that information coming out of these countries where where it hit first, and if to the extent they didn't have enough information or enough data to make that, if you had known that and they said, if you do take these 3 steps, then it will be minimized. I can't imagine that the people in power in whatever country wouldn't have taken those steps to mitigate their responsibility and political liability.
Yeah.
I just don't think they knew, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I think. And I think once, when it hit a place like Italy, they said similar population density, similar whatever. This is a model for what we can look at for the U.S. Therefore, we have to take these, drastic steps to try and mitigate the spread. So I don't know. I think people generally they generally act in their own rational self-interest. And I think if they thought if they took an action it would help them, they would do it. And I think a lot of it just comes down they don't know, So unless you're a top-down economy like China or something where you have a vested interest in and tamping everything
Suppressing
down.
information, yeah.
So
And I'm going to predict that they will go back to school.
real okay.
Yeah.
They
I'm going to
might.
say, and I am going to say that they're going to go back like right after Mother's Day.
Okay.
They're going to extend their school year till the
Okay.
middle of June, and then they're going to be out until August. I don't know, the second week of August, but not the end of the second week of August, like August 10th.
I think
9th,
there's a rule.
11th, 12th, somewhere in there.
There's a rule in
Right.
place that schools, maybe it's only in Missouri, can't go back within 2 weeks of Labor Day.
Yeah. There's
right?
some
Really?
well, some
Something like that?
Some states do that. They have and then like in Wisconsin, I think they start actually like later than that because so many kids are working in like recreation
Agriculture.
industries,
Oh,
where
yeah.
people are traveling and whatnot. Or they're going to use it to all around school.
Well, that could be
Really?
it.
You're going to all around, all year round.
Oh.
I think, and I think
Like meaning that you're going to go for
Right.
8 weeks. You're going to take 2 weeks off. You're going to go to 8 weeks. You're going to take you're going to go 8 weeks. And they
Right.
do that until they,
I
forever.
think this is another kind of global prediction. I think this is going to be either not that big a deal and over in 2 weeks, like you say, they're going to go back to school or something like that. 2 to 3 weeks, it's kind of washed over, it's done. Or it's going to be something like I was saying, washes over for sure at the end of the second quarter, on into the third quarter.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, I don't think there's a middle ground.
Yeah.
To me personally.
And I
don't
think the science is catching up. I mean, there's some promising information in regards to vaccines and things like that, but they're not going to be ready for this initial insult. It'll be for next year.
Yeah.
For
I think if
fall and
anybody can
winter.
do it, we can do it.
All right. Well, on that note, that wrap it up for
That's it.
this episode of Five Boys in a Business. I'm Dr. King,
I'm Richie King.
I'm Madeline.
and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to check out the asvcmerch.com and listen to the podcast Mondays live, 10:30ish or so. And or you can check us out on any of the podcast channels.
That's it.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks so much. We're out.